it's rough, and it takes all that you've got, but he's been here, just waiting for you to knock. So take his hand and plant your feet on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock.
Hi, welcome to Life on the Rock. Our guests tonight are Norman Servais and Cris Riego. They are with Awestruck. We had them on a couple of years ago, and it's like they're talking. Awestruck is a Catholic social network, and it's bringing together all these bloggers and Catholics together in the social media network to share the faith and evangelize the digital continent, as Pope Benedict would say.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Douglas.
You too, brother.
Now you're wearing a Packers hat.
I am. Green Bay Packers. Yeah, the team that God intended to be the Catholic NFL football team. I can't say that. I'm sorry, I can't. No, Vince Lombardi was a Catholic coach, though. No, I just got back from Wisconsin. I want to give a shout out to everybody up there in Wisconsin. Worked with Knights of Columbus, Brother Rick and Mike Rabone and many others up there. The Holy League. The Holy League was started up there and was announced on November 23rd officially. This has support of several bishops already, and the Knights of Columbus there at Wisconsin. In the Holy League, it's this great opportunity of really trying to unite Catholic men all over the world under the idea of the understanding that we need to be in a state of grace in order to fight the good fight for the faith. And so they're doing holy hours in parishes once a month for men, and it's growing. So if you're interested, go to Holy League. Just do a search for Holy League on the internet, or go to battlereadystrong.com. And you can get it over there from there. We got a link over there to the Holy League. But I spent about a week up there back in November giving some talks and traveling around. And so, yeah, the hat is in a commemoration of, you know, Wisconsin being battle ready, thus the camo. So, yeah, looking forward to going back up there in March and possibly February and April. We're looking at hitting other dioceses to continue to spread the message about the Holy League and battle ready. Right. So, battlereadystrong.com, get you over to the Holy League and see what's going on with Catholic men uniting all across the world, understanding the need for deepening our prayer life, adoration to our Lord, the most blessed sacrament, and of course praying the rosary, thus my warrior rosary, designed by my friend Tom Sullivan. So, which again you can also find on our website, battlereadystrong.com.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great, Doug. Well, I want to talk about this opening segment about marriage.
Which ties in very well to being battle ready.
Right. I'm sure in your talks you promote strong fatherhood, being strong men of God, and that'll help the family. And, you know, the way of the family is the way of the world. Right. We're not changing anything unless the family grows in health and love and stability. And the church is very much about that, right? We had a synod on marriage recently. And I came across something the Pope said right before that synod back in September that struck me. And he said, "The love of Christ, which has blessed and sanctified the union of husband and wife, is able to sustain their love and to renew it when, humanly speaking, it becomes lost, wounded, or worn out." And before, in the address, he was talking about the Exodus event and the Israelites, you know, going through the desert, you know, relying on the Lord for strength. The same is true for marriage. That, you know, God, as a sacrament, marriage as a sacrament, God's love is there, and the spouses encounter God through living out that sacrament, right, in the fullest way. So certainly, you know, their human love, their marital love is caught up in divine love. And that's the most powerful force on earth, right? That, you know, God's love, His mercy, forgiveness overcomes evil, and it overcomes and empowers us to go through whatever struggles and difficulties we have. So he says the love of Christ, you know, blesses the union, it sustains it. He says it can restore to spouses the joy of journeying together. As those Israelites went through the desert, you know, the family today is going through a desert. I know we hear from many families, they're struggling, they feel like they're not supported. The culture challenges it in so many ways. He says this is what marriage is all about. Man and woman walking together, wherein the husband helps his wife to become ever more a woman, and wherein the woman has the task of helping her husband to become ever more a man. And that is a beautiful thing, because I feel like we are at the point where less and less people are getting married, they're cohabitating. We got to convince our young people to marry. And one of the great blessings is that you'll become, you know, you'll become more of what you are, what you were created to be, a man or a woman.
Right, right. Yeah, the fulfillment of it, the complementary nature of it. He talks about the reciprocal, you know, interaction between men and women, husband and wife. And it's part of the attack. I mean, the devil knows this. The devil knows that you undermine marriage, you undermine all of society, because as St. John Paul II said, all of society flows through the family. And that starts with the husband and the wife in the marriage. This is a major part of the attack of the enemy. It's a major part of why we're seeing the struggles in our society, the moral fiber breaking down, is the erosion of family. And that starts with us husbands and the wives coming together the way God has designed us to do so, with that complete giving. We stand at the altar, as I did nearly 25 years ago, and said to my beautiful wife, Denise, I said, I give you my life. You know, as imperfect as I am, a sinner, she said the same to me. I give you my life. And it was until death, until one of us stops breathing. I mean, that's quite a commitment to make. And that's one of those, you know, I'm in this completely, and I'm in this entirely, and I'm in this until the end. And when I stand before God, I'm going to be asked on how I did with that.
And that commitment is where we find fulfillment.
Right, right, because we're wired. We're built for that. It's in our DNA, you could say. You know?
As long as we go through life always holding something back, always being self-centered, we'll never know that fulfillment, that fullness, right, of giving ourselves and discovering ourselves in the giving, right, and finding God in that.
Which we should also say, for you as a priest, and this is something that people have such a hard time understanding, because we are wired for that, men and women alike. It's such an amazing sacrifice for a man to die to self and give up that marriage for the sake of priesthood. I mean, but of course you take the church as your bride. Right. So there's still a mystical union happening there, right?
Right. A personal, our spiritual lives, I mean, our Eucharistic adoration and things, it's not like we're walking in loneliness or isolation, but we have, Jesus comes and sustains us, you know, in a powerful way in that celibate vocation. And just, you know, a flashback to what you said, that, you know, he talks about this phrase, the reciprocity of differences. Here we see the reciprocity of differences and helping the other become more of who they're called to be.
And that is a word, in case you're wondering.
That is a word, yes. We had our guests, we confirmed it before the show. But, you know, because, you know, they each has a gift they can give to the other that the other lacks, just in their being male or female. And even in that giving, one is called to, you know, come out of himself to give that gift to the other. And so, you know, we reach this fullness, and it's a beautiful thing to see a young man mature as a father, a young woman to mature as a mother, you know, and all that radiance and splendor, and it's just beautiful.
And you know, when I speak on this, and I do speak on it, you know, in the battle ready rallies all over the place, because this is a key part of the spiritual battle, manifesting in the physical sense in our world today is how we interact with one another, and how the devil tries to interfere, but the grace of God can sustain and be sufficient, and so forth. And one of the ways I try to make that point is when we're open and we're giving, it's such as this, with our hands wide open. And in marriage, we come together, and the reciprocity there, come together in reciprocity. And you fulfill these weaknesses and these gaps in each other. Right. And when the two cling together, you know, and you're doing this by giving yourself humbly and entirely to one another, and you're clinging together, it's so hard to be pulled apart. Okay, because of the complete openness and the giving and the clinging and fulfilling each other's weaknesses and strengths and such. But when we close in on ourselves and we try to come together and we're doing this, that can be pulled apart. And I've done this where I pull a couple of strong guys out of the crowd and say, okay, try to pull on my hands until my arms, until we got daylight between the fists. And they always get it. But then I'll lock the fingers like this and say, now pull. And they pull and pull and pull, and they can't separate it. But it all begins with each of us humbling ourselves enough to be open and to realize, as you just read there, that we fulfill something in each other. We fulfill those gaps, those emptiness, and we lock together. We cling to one another, as Scripture says. You go off and you cling together, and you become one. One spirit, one flesh, locked together until death. You know, and of course we know when we do this, you know, kids always get in the middle. Right? They always get hurt in the middle when we turn to selfishness and try to hang on to each other this way. Someone always gets hurt. But when you open up in humility like this, that pounding doesn't occur. You know?
Good words, Doug. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with Awestruck. Don't go away. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Life on the Rock. Tonight we're talking about Awestruck, which is a Catholic social network, and we have Norman Servais and Cris Riego. Welcome to the show. Norman, your second time, 2 years ago.
Great to be back.
Awestruck has expanded and improved.
Yeah,
and
radically.
Yeah, try to tell our viewers what it is.
Yeah, well, we sum it up really by saying it's a Catholic social network, but it's actually now expanded into a network of networks. So we're trying to use it to consolidate Catholics on the internet, Catholics who are using the social media spaces out there, the different social platforms that exist out there. We want to try and get Catholics using our network, which is actually tailor-made for the Catholic audience.
Right. So bringing together on the digital continent, right? You like that phrase of Pope Benedict?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very appropriate phrase to use, and you know, as we were speaking about earlier, we come from South Africa, which is an isolated part of the world in many respects. Mm-hmm. So we're part of this huge digital continent, and yeah, it's a great space to be working. I mean, it's a challenge for us often in South Africa to connect with people. Mm-hmm. And so we have to resort to the internet sometimes to get good Catholic information out there and good Catholic blogs, and we don't see much in our mainstream media to do with the Catholic faith.
Right, and that's fitting. I guess in places where you see there's a struggle for connectivity with other Catholics, it does make sense that you all would develop this way to digitally connect. Because we always think of Africa as like booming with vocations and growth in the Catholic Church, but you all are in South Africa, 45 million, 6 to 7% Catholic. You're a minority. Yeah. So, and you have a lot of members in North America here, right?
Sure,
part of the network.
Well, you can't contain the internet, you know, geographically. We can't limit this to South Africa alone. We want to capture people wherever they are. So at the moment, we're predominantly a network for the English-speaking world. Right. And Americans are very active in the Catholic space on the internet. So they use the internet. In fact, you're a model to us actually in South Africa, because we're not really accustomed to blogging about Catholic things. Right. And here you've got such a wealth of good Catholic bloggers.
That is, yeah, that's America's gift to the Church, I think, is all these different initiatives and things. And we certainly have our weaknesses with Catholicism, but one thing we do well is initiatives, bloggers, magazines, you know, outreaches and things. I got on, you led me on, and I renewed my membership, upgraded my, what do you call my...
Profile?
Profile, yeah. We uploaded a picture, so Father Mark is on there, and it reminded me of Facebook.
Sure, sure.
So someone logs on, signs up, they can then go to post pictures. Yeah. And
well, so the moment you log in, the moment you create a profile on Awestruck, you end up on a wall, and the wall is like a blank sheet, really. So you've got to go to the effort of making friends as you would do in Facebook. And then you can also, we've also got features that are very similar to Twitter, for example, where you can follow feeds. You can also use the hashtag, which is one of our key features. And then you can use it for posting media. So as you posted a picture, you can post, you know, you can post links to other websites, and you can post video content. So, you know, video from YouTube, from Vimeo, Dailymotion, SoundCloud, all of those social networks that are out there, that exist out there in the social space, you can post that content very easily on Awestruck.
So we're going to roll an instructional video here to tell us about Awestruck, and then we'll come back with some more questions. So this is Spread the Word. We're probably going to need to expand on that a little more. Like, what's a feed? You mentioned a feed. What is that?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm confused. Is this a restaurant, or what exactly is this? Is it social media? Is it like an online restaurant then? Or is it
well, yeah. So there's a lot of deep symbolism in that promo.
that was
video.
clever. I like that.
So you've got to watch it a few times to appreciate it. Yeah, but the spread the word image was
good.
Yeah.
was the point there.
Yeah.
And so to get back to your question, what are feeds? That image came through even in that promo video, the feeds, your daily bread. So there's a lot of Catholics out there who've got blogs, existing blogs. They're blogging on WordPress, they're blogging on Blogspot, they're using all sorts of tools out there to get their blog out. But what we wanted to do was to provide a space that really encourages these existing Catholic bloggers out there to promote their content. So we want to be a service to the Catholic blogosphere. We want to allow them to connect their feed. A feed is basically RSS, stands for really simple syndication. And we want to allow them...
Syndication means like to disperse it.
Yeah. We want to allow them to use that tool, which exists with most platforms, to synchronize their blog feed with Awestruck, so that when they're using their blog, when they're publishing content on their own blog, that automatically gets fed through to Awestruck and gets promoted on our network. So other bloggers and people that are using our network, we're not just a space for bloggers, we're a space for all sorts of Catholics. Any Catholic who wants to come in there and connect with others, that's the big intention really of Awestruck.
So like a blogger writes a new entry, and then he could send that to all these Awestruck members. Is that?
Well, he could do that. He could come on and promote that content. But what would typically happen is automatically when he publishes something on his blog, it will automatically, if he's syndicated his feed with Awestruck, it would arrive on the stream in Awestruck, and it will feature on the stream, and then other people that are on Awestruck can discover that content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Cris, you are a trustee for Awestruck.
Yes.
And but you help to oversee content as well.
Yes, indeed. My background is I'm an attorney, so sometimes it's embarrassing to tell people that, but I am, and that's where my position is. I'm also co-trustee. I know you're looking away.
No, I'm moving over. That's all. I'm just kidding.
We believe in transparency.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no, they don't favor us very nicely.
Well, you got Thomas More in your corner.
Oh, there we go.
That's good. That's a good one. Yeah.
Well, it's a start. It's certainly a start. But yes, I'm also co-trustee with our Archbishop, Stephen Brislin, who essentially is really the person who oversees what we're doing in terms of our faith-based. We need to understand that it needs proper direction, and that's where we are commissioned, and that's why we're here, certainly. He's the president of our bishops' conference there, and we're supported by them. So I'm coming in from a sort of quite a legal sort of trusteeship background in terms of Awestruck, and I wear two hats. I'm also director there too. So we do, chat and discuss various issues going on about Awestruck, and funnily enough, I'm also interested in social media. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest and all of that, and that for me was a natural progression to say, well, I'm on those social networks, but I'm not getting the full picture. I'm not getting the full Catholic understanding of how the evangelization should be in the digital continent.
Right.
And Awestruck, for me, has been the answer for that.
Right. And we should say, Doug, you are an Awestruck.
Yeah, Ballarity. We connected with Awestruck way back in the beginning when we got started. So yeah, we've got a presence on there, which we're hoping to expand and grow because we're changing and growing as well. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. I remember when we first had you on the show, the importance of this sort of thing. There's just no question. This is one of the areas where we engage in the fight for souls. We use the weapons that are out there, and I know I keep going back to that, but that's because that's really what it is. We're battling for hearts and souls and minds. We're trying to win these battles that are constantly going on in our life. It's so easy to get distracted and pulled into the social networks and media that's out there. And some of that is simply a waste of time.
Correct.
Some of it is downright evil. Correct. But a lot of it can just be a simple distraction that can pull us away, whereas something like Awestruck gives us the chance to be connected in these social ways, but still have that grounding that is rooted in the moral fiber that we all need for our faith.
No, absolutely. It's all riddled. You understand that it's a space where there's a lot of bad content. And we Catholics need to understand that we must have an area, for me, to feel safe and comforted, and we understand that we can freely be as we are. But at the same time, we can also share that amongst the other networks too.
Right.
So again, what Norman is saying earlier on is we are a net on the internet, strangely. A bit of wordplay, but certainly that's what it is. And that's what we've been asked.
And I think that's a great point. Certainly we need to be on Facebook, Pinterest, and all that stuff.
Yes.
Evangelizing, going out to bring, to evangelize, spread the word there. But it's also nice to know on Awestruck you have a content that's monitored, and you take out the stuff that's bad. You have a place where Catholics can come, regroup, recharge, encourage one another. And I never thought of this till today when you were talking, but it's a place too where bloggers or people like Doug have a movement or some initiative going on. They can get that word out to people. You can have a target group there that you can bring your message to.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what it's been designed for. And it can be custom made. Certainly, Norman in his creativeness has certainly allowed for that. And it's a wonderful space that you can, and different groups have different needs, and it can certainly be custom made for those individual groups as well.
And one of the individual groups is EWTN, right?
Yeah, so we've created a network for EWTN specifically on Awestruck. So that would be awestruck.tv/EWTN. And
is that English, what you just said, or what is South Africa? But people can find it there if they go.
Sure. And and that's EWTN space on Awestruck, where we promote EWTN feeds, and we're promoting the EWTN brand.
Right.
And it's a space where EWTN viewers can connect with each other.
Right. And did you want to talk about some of the other features? We talked about feeds, syndication. You mentioned a stream. You want to talk more about the stream?
So the streams are basically walls, and you can custom build your own personal stream. So you do that by friending people, you do that by following different feeds, you do that by joining groups. Groups can be open or closed, just as in Facebook. So we want to give people the tools that they're pretty much used to on Facebook. And also on Twitter, we thought that including hashtags, which is an incredible, powerful technology which allows you to cross-reference keywords. So you can hashtag keywords, and that allows you to, across the network, across groups, and across the different sites on Awestruck.
So you can hashtag an article, a picture,
yeah, you can
video.
Hashtag anything. Yeah.
And that's identifying certain words that'll be, people can search for to find this article.
Yeah, so it's basically a tool for being able to search for stuff across the network. And then we've also got, besides the groups, we've got custom sites. So we tried to, as we're doing for Battle Ready and for EWTN, we can provide custom sites for different organizations, and they will have their own space on the network that allows them to, basically build a custom social network for their organization.
Right.
So that's what makes us a little bit different from the other social networks. You can have a completely custom built social network within Awestruck.
And one of your goals of world domination is to aggregate Catholic bloggers, right? To bring Catholic bloggers together. Sure.
So world domination. Well, that's not quite the intention. But
I just was looking at some new blogs. Yeah. It was like these stay-at-home moms are writing about the feminine genius. Yeah. I remember I was looking at 2 different ones the other day, and just great content. Yeah. And from a, it's just, I always say like that family world is like this, the stay-at-home mom with her kids is like a cloister, and we get to peer into the cloister, so to speak, through their blog, what they're writing, what they're sharing, what articles they find interesting, and it's very informative.
Well, you mentioned the Catholic moms. I just marvel at my wife, for example, is always, she spends so much time discovering these new blogs, and there's a whole world out there that people don't know exist really, and this Catholic blogosphere is huge. And so the challenge for us was to create a space where people can discover this content easily. Of course, we have Google, which is an excellent tool to search for this stuff. But we wanted to create a network that really promotes the Catholic blogosphere and allows Catholic bloggers to promote their stuff.
Right. Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to show you a Cris Stefanik video from Real Life Catholic on friendship. So we hope you enjoy it.
I am in dreamland right now, dreamland, enjoying some of the finest things in life. One, ribs that fall off the bone. Two, old friends. Listen, it is so, it is so easy to take friendship for granted, but it's one of the greatest gifts that we get in life. And by gift, I mean something that you didn't merit, you didn't pay for, that you didn't earn. When someone gives you the gift of their friendship, they're choosing to have an affection for you, to have a loyalty toward you, even if you fall flat in your face, even if you mess up, to be there for you. That choice is a gift from that person, and it's a gift from God. It's also something that we need to stay faithful to God. You see, friendship is one of the things that should fall into, like, what we see is one of our spiritual disciplines. Like, we go to Mass, we say our prayers. Developing deep friendships keeps us faithful to God. Sequoias are the biggest trees on earth. You know, their roots don't go very deep. They go very wide. Very wide. They're all interlocked with the other sequoia trees. That's what keeps them standing tall. If you knock all the sequoias down around one big sequoia, no matter how big it is, a couple storms, that thing's going to fall right over. The same is true in our spiritual life. We need to develop friendships. We need to develop this gift together and share our journey, share our stories together. You know, ask each other, like go deeper than just Xbox, right? Look each other in the eye, and say, how are you doing? And even if, like, you're guys that aren't comfortable, like, having coffee together and saying, how are you doing? You know, but, like, you need to, like, eat ribs together and look to the side and say, hey, how you doing? I mean, like, really, how are you doing? Like, on a deeper level, you got to do that. Or even better, like, have a monthly appointment with a friend to ask, what's the Lord doing in your life? That kind of thing keeps you standing tall because you can call each other on. I think of all the scandals in the media, be it in the business world or in the church. And these people started off at point A, and they were good people and had everything going on, like good intentions in life. And Z, where they became a headline. Look, and every time I see one of these scandals, I think, dude, between A and Z, there's B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, there's a lot of points. And I always wonder, were you talking to anybody as you sped through all those points? I mean, I stay faithful to God. I stay faithful to what He's calling me to do in life, not just because I got it all together, but because my friends will kick my butt if I don't. Get back to you. So all that keeps us faithful to the Lord when we have our friends to keep us standing tall. Even Jesus Christ had friends. He had as an example to us, not that He needed them or anything, but I guess in His human nature He did. He had His apostles, not just his all followers. And among His apostles, He had Peter, James, and John, who He'd always pull aside and lean on and got even closer to. So friendship's a gift. It's a gift you got to develop. You got to develop it to stay faithful to the Lord. He didn't create you to be alone. The Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit created us to stay strong with each other. We need each other. That's why He made so many of us.
Hi, welcome back. Certainly that video is appropriate, right? Friendship and how Catholic social network can promote friendship and encourage that. But Doug, you had a question.
Yeah, one that comes to my mind is, what is the genesis of the word awestruck? Why that word? What is it that struck you guys to get that word to be where it's at in this whole mission?
I think a lot has to do with the place that we're living in, which is an incredibly beautiful place. It's called Cape Town. It's right on the southern tip of Africa. So we're in this beautiful geographic location, Cape Town, and it consists of this flat top mountain, beautiful amphitheater surrounded by mountains. An incredible image is Lion's Head, which reminds us of the Lion of Judah. Then we have this flat top mountain, which reminds us of an altar. On the left, we have Devil's Peak, And then on the right, we have this mountain range called the 12 Apostles. So we're living in almost, I mean,
we're surrounded by great white sharks.
We're surrounded by great white sharks. We call the Cape of Good Hope, and we also call the Mother City. So there's so much symbolism in the place that we live. It's so incredibly beautiful. And we're continually like awestruck really at the beauty of nature, which is something that Cape Town is famous for. Not only that, we're awestruck really at the splendor of God, the splendor of truth. And that's something that we really need to be bring home on the network, the sense of awe and the sense of greatness of our faith.
Is it cold down there? My image is that it looks, but you're on the same level you said as Rio, kind of. So it's
pretty much we're on the same latitude as Rio. And no, it doesn't get that cold. I mean, maybe
in certain places, where you get higher up, you do have a bit of snow, but generally it's rather mild. In fact, now that when we're filming, it's summer there, so everyone's on the beach, and we're out here in quite lengthy clothes.
Summer,
so it's a big change, obviously a shift of the hemispheres, but no, not that cold.
Is that one of you sitting on that mountain edge there? Was that one of you guys?
No, that's not one of us, but yeah, in that shot you're seeing, there we go. That's pretty much what we used to. These huge mountains rising up out of the sea, and just the splendor of nature and the glory of God is so evident in nature.
Well, Cris, let me ask you. You are a barrister,
an attorney. Yes.
A barrister is a judge, is that right?
A barrister would be equivalent to an advocate. So I would be what they call a solicitor in English sort of language, or English systems. So we do have a similar system, but yes, I am an attorney.
And you hung up your wig to come work at Awestruck?
Thank goodness we gave up the wearing the wig system a long time ago, and that's a blessing, because I think I'd look rather funny with just white wigs everywhere with my features. But yes, I think I'm certainly passionate about our faith, certainly, but indeed the way that social media plays a large role in our lives. Right. And just look at what the kids are now, the youth. Everyone's in their mobiles. And by the way, which Norman perhaps was getting to, but it's very mobile friendly. Awestruck is exceedingly mobile friendly. It's clean, it's fast, it's a wonderful interface. You can snap
a picture, upload it immediately.
Just like we did early on. We snap a picture, we load it on immediately, and it's fantastic. It's immediate. So that's where the people are. We have to go to that place where they are.
Right.
And again, we've been instructed all our lives. That's what we've got to do. Right. We've got to evangelize those places, because if we don't, and they remain in that space where they're not receiving good Catholic content, then we're not doing our jobs.
And you have the full backing of the bishop.
We do indeed, yes. He is part of Awestruck. He does tweet from time to time, but he certainly understands the ethos of where we wish to go and the direction that we're going to. So we've had full backings, the Knights as well, the Knights of Da Gama, very much the same as the Knights of Columbus here in America. We have their backing. So we certainly have, we have some gravitas in terms of where we want to go.
Right. In your own personal background, I thought this was interesting. You've lived in many different places. You're Filipino by birth.
Yes, I can't escape what my features say. So yes, I was born in the Philippines. So and my mum and dad were both doctors, and we moved to South America and British Guyana for a while. Spent a couple of years there, and thereafter in the Caribbean and St. Vincent in the West Indies. And in the early 80s, we moved to South Africa. So the funny thing was this Asian-looking person arriving in South Africa with this Caribbean accent, man. So it was hilarious, I think, for other people, not for us. So it was a tough time. But yes, I've become acclimatized to South Africa. It's now my homeland, and I echo what Norman is saying. It's beautiful. Live in Cape Town. It's just a stunning part of the world, certainly.
And you've, in your own work with young people at your parish, that's also kind of inspired you to do something with social media?
Yeah, just maybe on that. I mean, it's an interesting point. You know, why does a person really get involved in these things? And I suppose it's a bit of a reversion story. I mean, luckily I was a cradle Catholic, but my wife, being as bright as she is, went through the RCIA course.
She was a convert then?
Yes, she was a convert. She was Anglican. Okay. And what is important there for me, I then picked up the book, the good book of learning how to become a Catholic.
Right.
So it was wonderful for me just to revisit our faith, and I think there it ignited me, because then I walked the journey back to my faith with her as she went through the RCIA course. It was just wonderful, and from there it's really sparked my love for our church and for our faith and for God, and then I think that sparked me to work on some ministries, youth, young families now, because I do have some youngsters. So yes, that's really where it sort of kick-started me in a sense, and which led me to Awestruck.
Yeah. And do you think maybe some of your moving around and not being settled as much in a place, you had a deep appreciation for friends and connecting with others?
I think so. I think deep within me, you know, because when one moves quite a bit in your youth, you're there temporarily. You're a nomad. Yeah. So you are there, and you don't make enough connections whilst you're there. So as you move along, it's fantastic. You get to meet people, but then you leave them behind and you start off a new life. So I think with that in my mind, and the direction where Awestruck is taken, to say, well, let's really get connected. It's a place to have authentic connection with other Catholics, and to really share in a space that's there at the moment, the internet, it's there. So, you know, I think it was a clarion call to say, in a booming voice, get involved.
And because you had a deep interest already in Pinterest, Facebook, and you would use it to connect with family, friends.
Absolutely, you know, and again, it was still filled, you know, the other network was still filled with the other stuff that you don't want. Right. It's advertising, and it's forceful, suggestive stuff, you know, and you can't get away from that. So for me, Awestruck is a quiet, wonderful place to re-energize, to learn, to share. I mean, I think a very good example is me having befriended some folk in the States, and on our Awestruck tour to the States, I met them in New York, and it was amazing. It was as if they were old friends. We didn't have to get through certain barriers. We immediately connected, and that was simply because we shared the faith through Awestruck.
I think that is the model, right? That the social media connection leads to a face-to-face
and it's what we're called to do. So we need to have a deeper connection, not just a, you know, hi, how you doing, sort of speak, but it's a real connection.
Right. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back and we'll hear Norman's story of coming to Awestruck. So don't go away. Back in a moment. Welcome back. And Doug, you have a question for us.
Yeah, I have a couple, but I want to hit you with this one first. Save the other question for later on in this segment. What do you guys battle personally in this work? Because this is missionary work. This is evangelization work, and the devil never leaves anyone alone who's really trying to serve God. Become more of a target. St. John Vianney said that. The more we try to serve God, the more we try to follow God, the more we become a threat to the enemy, and the more he tries to disrupt and attack. So those are words of St. John Vianney. And if anybody knew the attacks of the devil, that priest did. So what do you personally kind of struggle with? Not that we want you to reveal any of your ruling passions and your weaknesses, but where do you struggle at? And secondly, where do you struggle with just on the day-to-day operating Awestruck? Because I'm betting you're not just rolling in all the wealth and glitz and glory out there.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make these ministry works very effective when you do necessarily. So tell us about this, Cris.
Well, yes, I think from my side, it's certainly time constraints. Being on Awestruck is just an extra part of the day. And look, everyone's busy. Everyone's busy. But I think for me personally, it is a pull away from family time. It's a pull away from work, because we lawyers do work a bit from time to time. Just tell my boss that.
I won't comment on that.
That's why I'm here in the United States. I hope he doesn't watch this show.
Does he know you're over here?
I won't answer that. So certainly it has. There's always that concern in your life where you say, why me? Am I good enough? Surely someone else is better. And that's a gnawing question in your mind, which again, I suppose what you said, you do it, you drop it. No, continue for God.
Yeah.
Just try to let it go.
Yeah. So that's for me, it's a personal challenge all the time.
Sure.
I think also we've got we've got a great concept, but and you would think, okay, this would naturally be this should be quite easy to achieve. I mean, we've got a tool, we've got a disconnected Catholic world. Why shouldn't it be very easy to, get every Catholic in the world onto the network? But it doesn't work like that in reality, and it's not an easy thing for anyone really who's tried to consolidate the Catholic Church. I mean, we should all be really basically on the same page, fighting the same battle. But in reality, the Church is quite disconnected. So that's really why we attempted to build Awestruck, because we wanted to offer a platform that allows for a consolidation of an effort amongst the members of the Catholic Church. So that obviously we don't have all the same spirituality and all of that, but still, if we could work towards a common goal and use a platform that was at the service of the Church, it would help to improve that.
Now you're the head developer for Awestruck, and
yeah, well, in terms of development, most of my work is really coordinating other developers to do various tasks. So. And technically, we're an open source platform, so it's a very nice model to work with, because it's a consolidation of work from various developers from around the world who are working towards the tools that make this network work.
Was this your field before you came to Awestruck?
Well, yeah. So I'm also wearing two hats. I'm also my passion has really been, and vocation has really been, Catholic media, mostly filmmaking, in fact. So I've recently done, for example, a documentary for EWTN on the Church and the issues that the Church is facing in Africa in terms of life issues, and the various threats that we're under at this point in history, from various Western sources to bring contraception and abortion and all of these negative things into Africa. So we're Africa is fighting against all of these negative forces, mostly from the West. And that was a documentary that I just did for EWTN. So I'm very much involved in the production world. Got a production company called Metanoia Media.
Did you want to say anything more about that struggle with the life issues? I know in the West, we always hear about this pounding thing about there's the population crisis, and in the Western world there's this decline in population.
Yeah, well, and if you look at population density, a lot of people have the impression that Africa is overflowing with people, but we have 4 times less population density than Europe, for example. So it's a huge continent, and the problems that Africa faces are many, but we certainly don't need abortion, contraception, and all of these negative things.
All right, it's worked so well for us,
that are being foisted upon us.
Yeah.
So,
And now, your own personal conversion story, you had a reversion story. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I suppose, I had this reversion story when I was in the, I've got a dual South African Belgian nationality. I was doing military service at the time. And I had a mother praying for me very earnestly during this time. I was in Belgium doing my military service. And it was a time to really reflect on my life. And in fact, when I came back from doing that for a while, that was for a year, I was a different person. I had been in the military, and I was almost forced into a very different situation, speaking a different language, not having any friends, and my mother was sending me all of this good Catholic literature at the time, which forced me to sit back and read it. And a lot of it had to do with Mary's apparitions around the world. And then that sparked my reversion back to the Catholic faith.
Because I think the military would be a challenging place to practice your faith in many ways. Well, what about the future of Awestruck? Where are you all going? What's next?
Well, you did say early on we're going to conquer the world.
Right,
right. So that's a good place to start. Well, I don't know. It's a question. It's a very difficult one to answer. Obviously, probably the next 5 to 7 years are going to be a telling tape as to where we as Awestruck are going to be. But I think with good intentions, and we've got some wonderful people working behind it, and we have the backings of everyone, and everyone we've gone to and spoken about Awestruck, they've been positive about where we're going, and they all want to get involved. So I think with that positivity, we would like to really extend it to be a properly managed and a wonderful tool going forward for the Catholic Church. And look, I'm very positive. So I'm looking at being bigger than what is it, Facebook, and I don't even know how big it is, but
I think it's like 1 billion people.
Oh, really? Billion? How many Catholics are in the world?
They call it Facebookistan.
So certainly that's how I foresee it coming into the future, where it should be, and there's no restriction on us, the faithful, to get to that point, through God's grace and lots of prayers. So we'll need a lot of prayers.
And some of the challenges that we face in terms of what Doug was speaking about also is getting to that point. We can't it's a fairly audacious attempt that we have here, and what we're trying to do is scale this thing up to quite a huge degree. So we've got to try and accommodate many members as we begin growing, and that all requires money. So obviously, and at this point, we're quite restricted in terms of financial resources that we have at our disposal. We're doing everything on a very tight shoestring.
Right.
So definitely we've got serious financial challenges, but we have a platform that is able to grow, and I think we've got the means to do it, and I think there's a will for that.
So certainly you're pushing for people to sign up, create a profile personally, and you're trying to encourage bloggers or initiatives, whatever, to use Awestruck to put their material out there.
To get the word out about their blog, to connect their blog to Awestruck so that we can help send members to them.
Right. And some of the groups you have, I thought it was interesting. One, you have a group for devotions, you call it?
Sure, we've got all sorts of groups. At this point, we've got about 300 or 400 groups.
Yeah.
We've got everything from regional groups, which might be diocesan groups, for example, country-based groups, to groups like devotions, groups centered around family issues, groups on anything, funny stuff, groups on women's issues, groups on the saints, groups on questions and answers. So also, basically anything you can think of is there, and if it's not there, it's free for anyone in the community to create such a group.
And Pinners, you said you have?
Yeah, Pinterest is quite interesting. We have the biggest, Awestruck has the biggest Catholic board, as far as we are aware, on Pinterest at the moment, with about 120,000 pins on the Awestruck board.
Wow.
And we've got we've also got Catholic Feast, which is one of the sub-networks of Awestruck, which has an equal number of pins, and we've got thousands of pinners pinning to these boards. So it's a huge repository of mostly devotional images, memes, all sorts of interesting images to do with the Catholic faith.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to your next visit.
It's terrific to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, may our Heavenly Father shine His face upon you. May He give you His peace. May He fill you with His Holy Spirit and every good gift and grace. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We'll see you next week.